Hi guys, I want to show you how to find the length of a segment on a graph. So if they ask you to find the length of segment AB and it's on the coordinate plane like this, you're going to use the distance formula. So the length of the segment is also the distance from A to B. It's how far you would travel from A to B, and that's the length. So we're going to plug in this distance formula. So as you're writing it down, I want you to notice what is happening. We are going to be subtracting the two different x values from the points, squaring them, subtracting the y values and squaring them. Plus is in the middle, so we'll add once we know those, and then we'll take the square root. Okay, so let's go ahead and rewrite the distance formula, and I'm just leaving blanks for where we're going to plug in. Okay, I also like to, since we're subtracting x's, I like to kind of distinguish between the x values and the y values. If you don't have a highlighter, you can also just like circle them. Yeah, like I'm circling the y's. Okay. So let's subtract the two x values, and just a reminder, for any point, the x values are first because they're listed in alphabetical order within the parentheses, so x then y. All right, so we're going to subtract those. We're going to take 3 and we're going to subtract 1. Then we're going to do the y values. We're going to take 4 and subtract 2. The most common mistake is to take the 3 and subtract the 1, and then to switch the order on the y values and take the 2 and then subtract the 4. So sometimes I will draw arrows like, okay, I started with this 3 and subtracted the 1, so I need to make sure and start with the 4 to subtract the 2, just like in the formula. So just make sure that you stay consistent with which point you start with when you subtract the x's and the y's. Okay, so now we're going to perform all the operations underneath. We're going to do parentheses first. 3 minus 1 is 2. 2 squared. That means 2 times itself. So 2 squared is 4. We'll bring down the plus. Now we'll do this. 4 minus 2 is 2. 2 squared is also 4. Okay, keep bringing down your square root. 4 plus 4 is 8. Okay, so for Desmos, we can put that whole thing in. If you want, oh no, apply. Okay, if you want, you can just check that you did all the work correct. So meaning all of the operations under the square root, you can check that that does in fact simplify all down to 8. So I'm just going to put everything except that square root. All right, 3 minus 1, and then here is your squared button, plus parentheses, 4 minus 2, and squared button, and it does. So I know that I did this correctly. Okay, you also can, from the very beginning, put in the square root, and then type it all out, and it will give you the decimal version. Okay, I'll show you that that is equivalent. See, the square root of 8, which is what we got, is 2.828427, yada, yada, yada. Real long. So most likely, if it's something like that where you would have to round, we would leave it as a square root. So just leaving it square root 8, you don't have to go to the calculator to figure out what that decimal is and round it. We could just leave it exact, which is leave it as a square root. Okay, but I'm just checking that everything I did was correct, and it was. Okay, so use Desmos to help check you. Make sure you're on the right track. But the distance is the square root of 8, which I know to be approximately 2.8. So that's just good to keep in mind. All right, so that is, oh, let me box up. Okay, I can't go too fast. There we go. So the length of segment AB is the square root of 8. All right, let's look at midpoint. So same question, same numbers. as far as the picture goes, but they're asking you for the midpoint of segment AB. So if you look, the midpoint formula looks like this, and there's parentheses and a comma in between because notice what the ordered pairs look like. An ordered pair, or a point on the graph, is written like that. Parentheses with a comma between, and then the x coordinate first and then the y coordinate. So this is a point, so that's why it's written with those parentheses like that. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to fill in this formula, and the formula looks quite complicated, but it's really not. We are going to add the x values, divide by 2, and then we will add the y values and divide by 2. That's it. We're taking the average of the x values and the average of the y values. We're adding them and dividing by 2. Okay, so I'm going to start with the x's, and I'll just highlight them. Okay, we're going to add the 1 and the 3, and we're going to divide it by 2. And then we're going to add the 2 and the 4 and divide it by 2. In this formula, it doesn't matter which one if you mix up the order, but you still want to just stay in good habits and always whatever you start with. See, I started with the 1 and added the 3. So I started with the 2 and added the 4. I stayed consistent. So just make sure that you are staying in good habits. But really, adding is commutative. It means you can do it in any order. So 1 plus 3 is 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 plus 4 is 6. 6 divided by 2 is 3. The midpoint of segment AB is 2, 3. So here's the origin, 0, 0. I'm going to go over 2, up 3. Looky there. That does appear to be directly in the middle of the segment. So I know that on either side, those links are the same. I hope that helps.